All right, so we are going to be learning about subtracting integers, but we're just applying yesterday's lesson. We've been talking about subtracting integers for a couple of days now. So now we are kind of shortcutting or generalizing some rules about it. So the first thing that we learned about subtracting integers is that subtraction is the same as, we ended up finding that when we subtracted something, we also could look at it as adding the opposite. And we did a whole bunch of lessons with counters to justify that. So if you need to see the previous videos for that, they are available in this week, and you can just go back and look at that. So we're adding the opposite. So then yesterday we took the time then to kind of come up with a little rule that we'll follow, that when we're subtracting, we're adding the opposite. So when we have a problem that has subtraction, we can change the subtraction into addition and then change the number we're subtracting into the opposite. So what that looks like in a problem like this, so I'll zoom this in a little bit. So what that looks like in a problem like this with our 2 marks is that we are going to go ahead and expand this out here. So -7 minus -12 minus 14. So everywhere we see minus, we kind of say subtract minus. Everywhere we see subtract, we can also say that that is adding the opposite. So how that would look is I would have -7. That doesn't change. The front number doesn't change. I mean, that's just what we talked about. So the -7, and then we do 2 marks. So minus -12 is the same thing as adding +12. Those are 2 marks. So adding the opposite. So it becomes plus 12. And then we go here and it says minus 14. Oh, there's another subtract. So we can do our 2 marks. That's the same thing. Subtract 14 is the same thing as adding -14. It's a little minus sign. So plus -14. And so now if we did tiles or number lines, we go in the negative direction 7, then we go positive 12. So we're going to end up at 5 when I do this. So plus a -14. Oh, so if I go positive 5 and then I go back 14, I'm going to end up at -9. And so that is going to be our answer. And so when I do my 2 marks, I just turn this into an adding integers lesson. So it's just a matter of adding integers. Okay, so what would that look like on this next one? So -9 minus 16 minus 8. Okay, so -9, so that one stays the same because it's the first. Minus 16 becomes add the opposite. There's my 2 marks. So plus a -16 minus 8. So minus 8 becomes add the opposite. So plus a -8. So -9 plus -16 plus -8. And they're all negative. So -9, like on a number line, would go that way, and that would go that way, and that would go that way on the number line because we go to the left when we go negative. And so I would add those up. And so I've got -9 and 16. -16 is -25 plus a -8 is going to be -33. And so because they're all the same sign, I just end up adding up those values, and it is negative. So let's see how that works with number 8. Okay, again, the front number stays the same. We never change that. So it's -4 minus 20. So minus 20 is the same thing as adding the opposite of 20. So adding -20. So -4 plus a -20 minus 9. So 20 minus -20 minus 9, add the opposite. So -9. So -4 plus a -20 plus a -9. And again, like the last example, they're all negative. So they all go in that negative direction. And so we're just going to add those numbers. So I've got -4 plus -20 is -24 plus -9 is -33. So I just add those up. So once I do my 2 marks, it becomes an addition problem. Okay, and that's the whole point. If I can make this an addition problem, it is a little bit simpler. All right, so you have another type of problem. So the whole point of this lesson is to reinforce what we did yesterday, but you'll notice some of these problems have like 3 things that we're adding or subtracting as opposed to the 2 that we were doing yesterday. So there's also some other things that were coming up as well. Okay, so for example, use mental math to solve the equation. So you're going to end up with a question that looks like that. Well, if I look at this problem and I say, well, can I do some 2 marks here? Yeah. So it's W stays the same minus -3. So if I make my 2 marks plus, add the opposite. So add the opposite. Okay. So, all right, that's cool. So this is really basically W plus 3 equals 7. So what plus 3 equals 7? Oh, that's why it's called mental math, right? But the mental math becomes easier when you acknowledge and recognize that I can do my 2 marks and make this a simpler problem. Okay, so you have a couple problems like that. So let's look at the next type. So the next type of problem, you will have a problem that looks like this, and that's range. So range, the difference between greatest and smallest number in a set of numbers. So that's a concept that you might have learned, and maybe not actually, because with COVID last year, I don't know if you got everything, but range is the difference between greatest smallest number in a set of numbers. It's a measure. Okay, so to find that, we're going to take the greatest number in the set and subtract the smallest number in the set. So you might be asked something like, January's high temperature was 56. January's low temperature was -35. What is the range? Okay, so the range would be the difference between those numbers. So I take the highest number, 56, and I would subtract the lowest number. Now this is because we're going to subtract, but the lowest number is negative, so 35. Now I'm going to do my 2 marks, add the opposite. So in this case, the range then, I end up adding the number because I had to subtract a negative. So 5, 3, 8, 91. So it's going to be 91. So the range is 91. Okay. And so you're going to be given a lesson where, or a problem where you're going to have to find the range of January. You'll have February, March, April, May. They'll all be listed there. And you're going to have to find the range. And it's as simple as taking the largest number, the high temperature, and subtracting the low temperature. Okay. And if you're subtracting a negative, then you end up having to make your 2 marks, and ends up being addition. So, and you'll have some where maybe your low number is a positive number, and then you're just simply subtracting. Okay, so that is it. That's the lesson for today. You are doing Big Ideas Math, and so you need to log in. This lesson is 1.3. So you're going to log in and complete that math assignment, and come tomorrow with any questions that you have. All right, thank you.